Dork, back again. I'm coming at you live again today from my Data Cathedral studios here in sunny and beautiful Gainesville, Georgia, where it actually has been amazing weather recently. Sorry for those of you living in the rest of the world. You're free to move down here with me anytime you want. We're recording Dork Cast episode 29 today, and the title today is Dynamic Beauty. Usually I use analogies or metaphors or creative titles, but when you see what we're going to look at today with my guest, you'll realize this title is just simply fact. It is not fiction. My guest today is Omar Ben Salem, and he is a Qlik MVP. He runs a consulting practice and works with customers. You can see here in this picture, Omar is starting his child out loving Qlik swag. Omar, I appreciate the fact that this young guy is already looking forward to his Qlik swag in the future. He looks like he's a data guy. And of course, soccer can't fault him for that either. For those of you who are multitaskers, feel free to reach out to Omar right now, whether you want to email him or connect on LinkedIn. And I know he'd be happy to connect with you. Or take a screenshot of this and focus all of your attention on what we're going to see. Omar, before we begin, I wanted to share something that I wrote years ago. And so a kind of a lengthy post with a lot of details. I call this alternative to alternatives because I loved the alternative dimensions and measures in charts. It was so flexible for users. Like, I don't need a second bar chart. I can just pick the dimension. I don't need another scatter plot. I can just change my measures around. It was amazing technology that I wanted to kick it up a notch though, because I'm the Qlik dork, right? Like, I got a bow tie on. I got to deliver more. So I wrote this post and I gave all of this information about how you could create dimension islands and measure islands and then use those things with $ expansion right on the charts and make this stuff completely flexible. At the end of my post, I had a little bit of a challenge for others, and you can see it's pretty detailed and technical. I had all these bonuses. Man, for bonus points and gold stars, if you wanted to try to go ahead and do this, you should. Wait, if you really want to go for more stars, well, the truth is, folks, Omar gets like 1,000,000 gold stars from the Qlik dork because you took this kind of a concept and you really kicked this thing up a notch. And I've been seeing your posts that you have these dynamic applications. What gave you the idea to do this? Before you show anything, what gave you your idea to make things dynamic?
Thank you, thank you for the great presentation, and thank you for the invitation. And before diving into all of this, I want to seize this opportunity in this moment to tell the world and all of those who are watching us now how much of a great person you are. And let me explain. Let me put this into context. So this is the second time we're talking with each other, and the first time we've met and talked, it was due or thanks to the fact that I've reached out to you for some guidance and help on how to use the Azure Open AI thing and connect it with Qlik. And to my surprise, you've answered and you've accepted to help. You'll say, hey, many people would have helped, including me. But even though many would have helped, the help would consist on some chatting through LinkedIn, some tips maybe, but you've directly offered a meeting, which was amazing for me. And we did the meeting. It was scheduled for 1 hour, but we done 1 hour and a half. And you were great the whole time. You were very friendly. And that led to this. And through the first meeting, we decided to do a second video together to show the Qlik dynamic report. So yeah, I wanted to seize this moment and to tell the world you're such a nice guy, and it's amazing to have you.
Well, thank
That
you,
said,
Omar. I
it's
appreciate
very
that. And I
honest.
do, for those out there, I really do enjoy helping other people bleed green, gray, and white. Just get even stronger doing that.
Yeah. Thank you, Rothan. So to answer your question now, why I've thought about it, to be honest, it's due to the fact that some of my previous real life clients were using Qlik very wrongly, very wrongly. In fact, they were using Qlik as a big Excel generator tool.
Hmm.
Since we had the business that has that sole Excel view, and
Yep.
it's understandable since they don't know Qlik that well, they're not aware of all the capability they have. So when they create the specification, they have their KPIs, they have maybe some pie charts because everyone loves to wrongly use pie charts with dozens of values, and they have tables
Yep.
everywhere. And in the other side, you had the Qlik team and the Qlik developers that took the specification with all these tables and just gave them back dashboards with
Yep.
tables.
Yep.
So the user would connect to the application, search for the table, export it to Excel, and that's it.
Yep.
And that was set. And even one of our clients has changed to Power BI since they told them, hey, Power BI integrates better with Excel. And we're using Qlik as Excel generator. So yeah, let's go with Power BI. And I found it sad how wrongly Qlik was used.
Yep.
And I made it my mission to make Qlik look great again. And that's the idea that led to me creating this Qlik dynamic report that could be used and beneficial in 3 different layers. So it could be beneficial for the business as a marketplace of ideas and analysis. So they have to, when creating the specification, that yeah, they know their needs, but they can see the template and pick and choose what kind of analysis could suit better their goals and include them in their specification and in their report. And they've used them. And the wow effect was, wow, we could do this with Qlik. They had absolutely no idea.
Yep.
The second use and beneficial thing is that the user could have a real near self BI experience, as everything does not have to be statically uh, created and pre-configured for him. But the user, when he opens the dashboard, if he wants to alter the dimension he's focusing on, the measures, the KPI, the period, the year over year, I want to switch that, I want to switch this, I want to select this. I offer him this opportunity without having to ask the developers to redevelop things for him. So I try to make it so dynamic for the user. And the third layer is for the developers, because this is reusable on the fly. You just alter some parameters here and there, and you could reuse the dashboard that is full of rich and dynamic analysis. And to be honest, this led to a better modelization because the Qlik developers, especially the junior one, when they are facing time and obligation to
Yep.
deliver, they tend to not stay long with the modelization, but try to present something that is beautiful to the eye because the user won't have known how the model was done.
Right.
And this led to miscreated application. And if you allow this kind of stuff, it won't be good. With this, what I told them, hey, don't bother about the presentation. You could reuse it on the fly.
Yep.
Just focus on the most important part of the thing, your model. If
Yep.
you have 1 month, stay on the modelization. Do a
Yep.
perfect model, a perfect table modelization, and for the presentation, hey, just reuse the dashboard and pick and choose what you want to include, and that's it. So this is what the idea, and it works. It works, and clients are loving it.
I love it. I love it. And I've been chatting over the last month and a half with a young woman who's new to the Qlik environment, and she approached it from another tool's perspective and was frustrated up front, like why can't I just draw this quicker? And her most recent point was, holy cow, now I spend my time building data models and bringing more data into the application. I'm not just writing a report, I'm providing an analytics base. And so it's very real. That was when I got started and moved from reporting into Qlik. I struggled for a while thinking, well, geez, I can draw these charts, but how does this really help my users? I could have drawn my charts in something else as well. Once I finally figured out the bread and butter is the data modeling and what
Yeah,
you can do in cleaning up data and transforming data so that the answers are more trustworthy. And yes, it can be exported to Excel. And I think part of it is not fighting that, because there's users that the more they want to use Excel, the more they just are showing that they don't trust answers that others have given them with aggregates. They don't want to just be shown a number and a KPI. They need to prove to themselves that the number is right based on all the data. And so that's the nice thing. Well, we've talked hypothetically about this dynamic beauty. Let's go ahead, if you'd like to give us a demo and show us visually, just visually, because it is beautiful what you've done visually. Then we'll reverse it and go back to the technical part behind the scenes.
of course. Uh, Before going to the visual parts, I'd like to show how quickly to switch between applications, and I will call another data model without explaining. And
Okay.
then we go to the visuals, and then we go back to
Oh
show
man.
how we create this.
Well, that sounds
So
like it would take a long time, Omar. We really need to get to
uh,
this visual. How
let's
long are we
hope not.
talking? Hey, this doesn't seem like it would be that long.
And we're good to go. That's it.
Hey, this was not fast forwarded.
No.
There's no time lapse photography here. What you did was change, you're using a binary load,
Yeah,
and then you
exactly.
change a few variables, and that was it, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so now
Exactly.
this application is pointing to another application,
Yet another data model that is
and
proprietary.
this is just a visual application.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much. So we'll be talking about the translation later. So this has already been translated, this page. I didn't want to include the translation in the whole report, but we will be talking about this later. So
Okay.
what I try to present is, as I told you, a marketplace of ideas. So we have our summary page, we have our overview,
Mm-hmm.
but we have a ton of analysis that could be beneficial for the user, for the end user, for the business to pick and choose. Yeah, I'm interested in this. I'm interested
Mm-hmm.
in this. But we've been talking about the dynamic side of it. So I
Yep.
just changed the dimension, and you could see that, hey, they changed here. They changed here, and
Okay.
the KPIs are the one I've been putting.
Okay.
So see everything here. If I want to go with earnings, yeah, let's switch to earnings. If I want to go with sales volume, let's switch to sales volume. If I want not the year today, but to focus on the quarter today, maybe I don't
Yep.
need it to be statically created I have the year-to-date expression, I have the
Okay.
quarter-to-date expression, I have the month-to-date. No, just pick it here, and you'll have it. And it
Come
will change on the
on.
fly. So this is an overview of the thing. But overview is not everything we have. Yeah, we have this, we have a comparison before for with the previous year, previous
Yep.
period. But if you want to dig in with the historical, how we do it. So this page has not been translated. So we have, for example, usually what people do is they tell you that I want a 12 running month, or I want 12
Yep.
periods to show,
Yep.
or 6 months, or 24 months, or 3 years. What I tend to do here is, hey, why make it static? If now you want to show 12 months, but
Yep.
later you want only to show 6 months, just click on 6 and I show
Come
you 6 months.
on.
If you want
Come
to have
on.
your 12 month,
Yep.
you'll have your 12 month. But if I don't want to focus on units sold, but rather on net sales, let's click on net sales and it will switch. But not only that, I present so many calculations for all of the users. So for example, if I want a moving average, yeah, I'll have the moving average. If I want accumulation by year, yeah, I have the accumulation by quarter. I have the accumulation by quarter. But if I want, for example, for my net sales to do a little forecast
Yep.
based on the last 6 months, I select 6 months and do forecast.
Forecast.
And it will
Oh
do a
my
forecast for
gosh.
me based on the last 6 months for the net
Okay.
sales. So this
And
is
what
what
are
I'm
you
trying.
using to make that forecast?
I'm using the native forecast that Qlik provides within its line chart. So
Nice.
nothing, no ads on, no extensions. It's all Qlik provided native objects that we are using
Okay.
here. So this is the historical sheet. But yeah, I know the history of things, but I want to, I've tried to create the dashboard to be as a narration, as a story to be told. So I've seen the overview. Now I've seen the history, how things were doing. But
Right.
I want to focus on the comparison. I want to
Okay.
know how I've done year over
Yep.
year. And
Context is king,
usually,
Omar. Context is king.
yeah. And usually what people do is, as always, having this static.
Yep.
I don't want to be static. I want to be able to switch between my measures. If I want to focus on profit, so be it. On unit sold, so be it.
Okay.
If I want to focus on units sold per year today, so you could see here, this is the period we compares.
Yep.
If you want year today, yeah, I'm missing data, but you could see that we're comparing the year today. If I want the month today to be compared, I don't need to write it predefined. No,
Right.
no, you could, as a user, click on month today, and you
Okay.
could see that this is the
Oh my
month
gosh.
by week, by quarter to date. Everything is interchangeable and everything is dynamic for the user to work with. After the year over year, okay, now I've seen that the variation for net sales was 36%. But why? And here we see why, what caused this. And if we want to focus on what caused this by country, yeah. If I want to focus with this by country, I could see that the variation of 36, it's due to these countries who have been able to uh, uh, um, increase the net sales over the
Right.
year from 2013 to 2014. If I want not to focus
Wow.
with country, and I could see this variation, how it is caused by product, I click on
Okay.
product and I see what's causing the variation. We have Velo and Amarilla who has negative variation, but the other one, especially Paseo and Carretos, they've led to this positive variation. And
Beautiful.
by segment, by everything, I wanna buy product, but I don't want to focus on the net sales. I want to focus on the profit. Yeah,
Yep.
you have it. And everything is dynamic. And if I want to focus not on quarter today, maybe month today. Okay, you have the month today. And nothing need to be statically predefined. The user have the freedom to pick and choose which analysis he wanna have for him, and the application would respond to the fly. So after this, what I present is a Pareto view with some NL insights, and I will share this with you.
Okay.
So what could be interesting is here we don't have that many data, but imagine that we're working with hundreds or
Yep.
thousands of data points. And I don't want to focus with everything, but I want to situate which values are causing the 80%.
Right.
And this I make a dynamic Pareto. So the Pareto generally is the 20% that are responsible for the 80% of the business.
Yep.
But if the user has another idea and want to say, no, I want a 10, 20, 90.
Yeah.
He just change the parameters here,
Wow.
and that will change for him. 90. The 90 will include the Montana. And as you could see, here I have the narrative that will describe the total, the average, the distribution. Here it's very simple to have this, but imagine if you have hundreds of data points. You
Yep.
won't know how your data points are doing, which the average, which the range, and what the first represents versus the average. And here we have a description of the Pareto. So here we see that the Paseo, which is the first, is highly
Yep.
2 times bigger than the average. Here we could see it, but imagine you have many data points. And the profit, which is the point we're focusing on here,
Yep.
is highly concentrated, just 4, that represents 6% of the total, but have 77% of the total. Put
Wow.
another way is the other thing. But
Yep.
if I don't want to focus on product, I want to focus on other thing. I want to focus on country.
Yep.
You have it. If I want to focus on country, but not with profit, with net sales, you have it. And you have the Pareto that changed. You have the narrative that would change and adapt to your selection. And I had a button here. I will update the report. And with the button, you could actually select the points to focus on. So for example, if these represents 80% of the total, and I want to focus on only those, yeah, here I could do this and select them. But if I have thousands of data points, I can't go all the way to select them all. I
Yep.
only click on that and focus on the 80%.
Right.
That I will include, I've already prepared, I think. So, so this is the Pareto, and I try to, and
Yep.
all of is just variables that adapt to your selection. Next sheet I want to present to you is this sheet, in which I've been inspired by the Gartner, and I wanted to have a dynamic clustering, because with the cluster, it's easy to see the outliers, to
Yep.
create clusters. And which the thing that is amazing with this, that the user have the possibility to specify which axis he want to focus on. So let's stay with product maybe. And for our x-axis, no, I don't want to see the net sales there. I want to see the units sold. And I want to see the net sales in the y-axis. And I want to see the bubble size controlled by profit maybe. And it will adapt on the fly.
Wow.
And the best thing, imagine you have hundreds of data points, and I just want to focus on the 4 entities that are below both averages. So the average of net sales and the unit sold. What we could do is click on this and use the lasso selection and try to select, but oh, here I failed.
Oh,
And even
shaky
though I have
hands, shaky
only
hands.
five data points to select, it's sometimes hard. But imagine that
Yep,
everything is condensate. You
yep.
could not do that. You had to zoom and do everything. What I present here is a quick way to select those you are needing to focus on just by clicking on the color. So these are the below averages. I click on them, and Qlik will select them and recalculate the averages and do a new repartition by creating new clusters, and so on and so forth. So
And
this is exactly
we need to pause for a second, Omar, because I
that.
know there's people out there that just saw you click that color and they choked on their coffee or their caffeine. I know I choked on Mountain Dew the first time I saw the demo. How did you get that little color grid there? There's a lot I want to come back to visually, but I think that
Yes.
color grid that you clicked on is a really cool one that people are going to like, wow, that is impressive as a thought process. How do you do that?
Yeah, I will tell you and then show you. So what we have is the focal point is the averages.
Yep.
And the average depends on the dimension you're selecting, because if I change the segment, it will adapt to
Okay.
the new
Yep.
dimension you've just selected. So it depends on the dimension you're selecting, and it depends on your axis.
Okay.
So each time you change your dimension and axis, the average will recalculate. And based on the average, we have, it's explained here. Above the average is the data points that are above both averages, below both averages, and between averages that below one above the other.
Okay.
So how to do this is the colors that are being used here that depends on the average are being reused in this. And I will show you. So let's start with the this chart to see that we have both averages on the add-on. We
Okay.
have the average here and you have the average on the other side, and
Completely dynamic.
everything is dynamic for you, nothing.
Dynamic
And
$
yeah,
expansions.
and you see that the color is by expression and it fully
Yep.
depends on the averages you're having.
Okay.
So this is my focal point.
Yep.
And this is what I'm looking to reuse to be able to select. So what I do
Yep.
is I use this in a simple
And this I think is
tree map.
super brilliant.
Yeah, so what I use is I simply use a tree map. And as a dimension, I will show you. As a dimension, what I use is the same logic I've been coloring the data points. I've using it with an aggregation on my dimension. So
Yep.
for it to be reused each time and depends on the dimension you're selecting, I'm creating these rectangles and I'm putting something. And here for the
Yep.
measure, you don't need a measure because the selection is done through the dimension. So here I just
Yep.
put one to have everything aligned. And the appearance under the expression for the color,
Right.
I use the same thing. And I do the same aggregation for it to calculate based on the dimension and the both averages that are fully dynamic. You could see here,
Nice. And I think
dynamic.
what I really wanted to get to with this, besides the coloring, is the fact this is just the standard tree map. And Patrick, if you're out here, pat yourself on the back. Because from the get-go with ClickSense, it has always been about responsive, responsive, responsive. And so a tree map looked exactly like the tree map when you had it magnified. But when you shrink it down, the tree map says, hey, I'm going to try to show you the bare bones that I can to get a point across. And all it was the colors. They're all equivalent in terms of the measure. so they're all the same size, and you just see the coloring, and it looks like a color scale filter, and it's really a tree map that is just shrunk to such a small space with responsiveness. I don't know that I've seen another demo ever of how effective that responsive design of the visualizations could be. This is an incredible use case, and I know there's going to be a lot of other people out there that want to replicate that tree map color scale. That is really, really impressive. All
Thank you.
right, so we'll go back to some of the other screens because I want to talk
Yeah,
technically how you did some of that. But I think that's mind blowing to me, and I knew that other
thank you.
people were like they gotta take a break. All right, let's get back to seeing more of this dynamic beauty.
Yeah. So now what I propose to is if you want to focus on the top three, top
Yep,
five, and see how they compare to the others, you could do that. And you could dynamically do it. I say dynamic all the time since it's really dynamic.
the
So if you
whole
want to
yeah,
focus on the top three
yep,
countries by unit sold, I have that the top three represent 64%. And actually, I see the distribution over the time in comparison of the all others. And if you want to specify just top two, you have the top two. If you want to top four, you have the top four. If you wanted to buy net sales and not country, I want a product of top three. Here you have it. And everything is dynamic. And what I offer is I offer many sets of different analysis that could be useful for the users to reach better insights and have better control over his data. So that for me, this is real BI. The real BI is us making it possible to have a kind of full control over the data
yep,
to help the user uh, having the best possible decision making. And
right,
if you only seeing tables everywhere, yeah, you'll have an idea on the details side of things, but you want to have an idea of the overview and how things are going through the whole scope. So what I present is, hey, this is all I can do for you. Please choose what better suits your needs.
yep,
Uh, and lastly, but not least, actually, there is two points. There is the comparison I'll be showing you here. So let's start with the ad-hoc report before diving into the comparison, shall
Oh,
we?
you're gonna keep me waiting, aren't you? Because I
Yeah,
love me a comparison because context is always king.
yeah.
All right.
So what I'm trying to do with this is people love them, their tables, but uh, I like to have tables in the report to have better view on the details. But not usually, always we have this problem with certain users that will be demanding another layout of the table. Could we add this? Could we maybe delete these two columns? I don't need them. And I don't have the time to reorder things in Excel. So can you
Yep.
please do this, do that, do this, do that? So what I tell myself, hey, why should I give you something that is statically pre-developed for you?
Yep.
I will give you the ability to create your own dynamic ad hoc. And if maybe there is a certain view you're always
Right.
wanting to select, I can create a bookmark for you, or you could even create your own bookmark and go to that bookmark and select what you want to select. But the brilliant thing
Nice.
about this is that you've seen how I've switched between the data models to call the second one, but I've never created any dimension in line or any island measure table. Actually, what the model did, and I will show you this later, it picked on the dimensions and KPIs we have specified from the start. And
Okay.
through that, it created all of this for us, and I will show you this. And
Okay.
here the user will just have, yeah, I have year, segment, and I want to see net sales. And we're good. And I want to see it in the pivot table, and I want to add quarter. And the quarter I want to be here. And
Come
maybe I
on.
want to add the profit and the unit sold. And that's it. And you only has to export this into Excel without having it pre-developed for him. And every time he want to add or delete a column, you do it on your own without
That
having
that
to
and
come
I
back to
can't
me.
tell you how many conversations I had that made me pull my hair out. I used to have a long flowing head of hair until the conversation, well, I am way too busy to skip over column 2 to read column 3. It just confuses me. I can't possibly use this until you remove column 2. Well, I need a column 4 or it's just completely useless to me. That drove me crazy. And
And
so
it's the
the other
kind of
thing here,
demands.
these are not extensions.
Yeah,
This is
no,
canned click
no.
straight table, canned click pivot table. And what you've done with the dimensions, when you did in your load script, I saw you add country and product and segment. You always have assumed that they're going to need these time-based ones. So
Yeah,
you used other dimensions you already have in your code for everything.
yeah.
And then you added measures, and the user can click on those to get it. What I love about this whole thing in general, from starting at the summary screen in the past and the year over year, what I've loved about this is the ability to rapidly bring data literacy and help a user grow
Mhm.
because you've instantly, by reading just the data model, given them a chance to build their curiosity in seeing more about the data, which is going to make them want to do more. This allows them to be really interactive. I still want my
Exactly.
data, but now I start learning how to click for filters. And lastly, gosh, making bookmarks out of those random selections, it would make life so easy for these end users. This is just super rapid in how they could grow to be Qlik consumers instead of just flat static tables
Exactly.
that they would have to wait another week and submit another request to me to get if they
Yeah.
needed it statically. This
It's
this is
those kind
phenomenal.
of very simple demands, but that
Yep.
could take so much time.
Yeah.
Depends
And it
on how
does
things are organized.
because the requests go into a job queue, they have to get prioritized.
And
And by
generally, it's not high.
prioritizing, what I really
Yeah.
mean is, did you vote for my staff to hire more people and my budget to go up by giving up some of your own budget? Oh, your request won't take that long. Yours will be done by next week,
Yeah.
right? Or gosh, man, I think adding those extra columns is going to take me a couple months because you didn't vote for my FTE requests. You voted for your own to get a higher budget. Yeah, this is phenomenal. And again, it's just canned objects.
Yeah. All of this is native. So
All
let's
right,
now
buddy, I'm
go
not going to
back.
forget about comparisons.
Yeah. Let's go back to the comparison part. This is the last sheet actually that I've added. I thought to myself, yeah, we have all of the narration that start from the overview to the history, so to the year
Hmm.
over year, and I see why you have positive, negative variation. I do the clustering, the grouping, the classification, and even the ad hoc report. But what if I'm into a situation when I want to compare two sets of values and see how they compare to each other? And this is why I provide through this sheet. It's a comparison sheet, and I will show you. So if I want to focus on products and but by net sales, and I have the choice. So make your first choice. I want to focus on amarilla. And for the second, I want to focus on paseo. And here you have it. You have a comparison between amarilla and paseo. You have how much they represented of the total. So this is amarilla and this is paseo. And we have each one variation over the time. And we have an historical view. Of course, you could see by year month if you want to.
Yep.
Or you could pick and choose how you want to see this. But the point is having this one set versus another set to see how they compare to each other.
Yep.
And the good thing about it, it's dynamic. So if I want to not focus on products, but rather focus on countries and not on net sales, but on units sold. And I don't want to compare 1v1. I want to compare Canada and United States versus France and Germany. And there I have it. I see how Canada, United States versus France and Germany did the total, the parts, the variation, and how they did over the time, or maybe not over the time, just in 2014. And I see this in 2014, and it updates for me. And I have this comparison view to be able to see how my data is going in comparison of each other.
Now, there's a small, don't click anything else. There's a small little box on this screen, a slice of that donut, that I think represents what's really wonderful about Qlik in general. You're showing the comparison of your choices, but you're also showing that in context to what has been excluded. So if I saw that choice 1 was 5 times the size of choice 2, but the rest of that pie is 90% of the pie, I'm not going to get overly concerned. Oh boy, I got 5 times. Yeah, but it's infinitesimally small, right? Let's go back to that Pareto. Let's think about the bigger picture. I think that's brilliant the way you've used the bar chart to show the comparison, and then you show it on a pie chart, but you do show it compared to what was excluded. Here's the pieces you didn't pick and their relationship. So I immediately know that Canada and the US were slightly bigger than France and Germany, and that combined, those selections are most of my pie. I think that was brilliant the way you included that. And I can't imagine how many conversations you had with customers when you got to the screen and they asked, well, what was rest? What is rest? And then you can explain it. And that would really magnify the fact that Qlik has all of that data in memory.
Yeah.
And you can show what got excluded just like you could show what was included. That's
Exactly.
just, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's exactly. And it's dynamic. I tend to say it a lot. So
It's dynamic and beautiful.
and beautiful. Thank you very much.
See,
So
it was a true title, man. I didn't even have to make stuff up.
thank you. So now if you want to switch on the scripting view to maybe show how this is
So
possible.
before we do that,
Yeah.
I do want to comment on the fact that this is some beautiful stuff. Most people haven't seen these rectangly boxes. Like over on the left side of the clean, you got the Qlik with the summary in the past and the year over year. And on the right side, you've got this communication with these filters and you're using horizontals. What are these objects that you're using here? How
Yeah,
did you
that's really
get this look?
this is really good question. This is the best part of it. And I think all of this is possible thanks to the new layout object. all of this is one big Qlik layout object who has been available for the cloud users without the
Yep.
need of an update or an upgrade, which is
Yep.
great. Switch to cloud. And is available for on-premises users since the February
Yep.
2024. So this object, the Qlik layout, it's an object that in which you could overlap some shards. So this is just a text with round borders, and
Okay.
these are buttons. And this is another text with round borders, and these are simple filters. And we
Yep.
could overlap everything and anything to create this appealing dashboard. So for example, in the summary here, if you could see an edit sheet, all of this is one object. And in
Okay.
one object, I put everything.
Ha ha. So you
And
actually have a layout container that contains other layout containers.
yeah, exactly. So this is a button, this is a KPI, this is another KPI, this is a text, this is another KPI, all overlapping in one big placement. So yeah, everything is possible thanks to the new layout container, which is great and available in cloud and in February 24. So if you are still on premises, please upgrade to the latest version. This is game changing for all Qlik developers. Everyone who sees this fall in love with it. It was my case, and I see in the community and in LinkedIn, many are starting to use this.
Yep.
I think there is something we haven't talked about, but I could present it now and show you later in the script how it has been done. It's the translation.
Okay.
And
You
this
kind of
is,
alluded to that on one of the screens because you have the language right there in communications.
yeah. So what
And I
this
would guess
about?
that it took you months to hand convert every word and everything that you used, right? It had to take like months to go,
That was a long time ago because, as you know, and as a Qlik developer might know, handling the translation within Qlik, it's not that easy of a task. So it depends on the application, depends on the number of objects. We
Yep,
had to have these mapping tables where we have all of our objects and all of our translation done manually
yep,
in spreadsheets and Excel files. And we are not the one who are doing this because we're not responsible of the translation, but we're depending on other teams. So we prepare the objects, we prepare the original field's name and original object name, and demand, hey, could you please provide us with the correct translation, maybe?
yep,
And imagine a simple task of adding or deleting a column you were discussing in a table. It could take months, depending on the organization. Imagine such a demand to depend on other teams to do the translation from the scratch. And if you have many objects, it would
yep,
take an eternity to be done. So
for
what I
sure.
present here is a way to use the OpenAI connector to do the job for me. So what I do is I create a draft version, a V0 version
Okay.
that I present to I can use it if it's good, but sometimes the OpenAI depends on the parameters you enter. He could dive into strange translation.
It could
What we could,
hallucinate.
yeah. What we could
Okay.
have is a starting point.
Okay.
I create all the objects and I do all the translation. And here, the team, you don't have to do anything from the scratch. Everything is translated. Does this suit you, or do you want to alter some translation? And please. And this, I think, could accelerate the process. And it's very easily maintained since we're doing it one time, storing into QEDs, and then reusing it. And I've
Okay.
done so many tests, and I will show you. actually.
Yeah, I'd love to see that because I've got an idea of where you're going and how it got
Yeah,
there.
open
But yeah,
AI. So
so
I've done so many tests.
you're using the
See,
plain OpenAI connector.
OpenAI connector, and you see I have many tokens, many requests, and you say, wow, he has so many tokens used. So this has to be costly. But no, the cost is
I
this.
don't know if can you afford that 2 cents?
Um, my wife has provided me with this, so thanks to her.
You found the money for this OpenAI
I
in your
found the
couch cushion.
resource. So yeah, it's not costly at all, even though I've done so many tests when trying to
Hmm.
switch the parameters. So imagine this is the one time you do this per report and everything is done, and you could use it as a final uh, 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 translation, or you could use it as a starting point to help accelerate. Because AI for me is not there to replace us, but rather you use it to
Yep.
help you accelerate the process.
So
So
how did you use it? Can you show us?
yeah, before showing this, I want
Let's
to
see
show
how
you
the
how we
finished product.
translate. Yeah, you see, French, it all translated, German, Spanish, and it all translates, even the dimensions here, the dimensions here, the everything, even the variation minima, mayor variación. It's excuse my Spanish, but I can read in French if you want to. Hablo muy poquito español. So I will show you now how the translation has been done, and as part of me showing you everything. But let's start with the basics. With the
Okay.
first thing is how to call your data model. So it's really simple. You have different data models that are being prepared, and that's the data model should be prepared with using the best practices. That's why
Yep.
I tend to tell the developers team, don't bother with the presentation. Just focus on your model and give me a good model. That's what I want
Yep.
to use.
Yep.
So
And what I love, yeah, don't skip over that because what I've loved about ClickSense was the notion that there could be developers and there could be designers, and that though it was role based, where typically with ClickView, a ClickView developer did everything. You had
yeah,
to. And what I love is this. So you're using a binary load that's been
yeah,
available forever.
yeah,
For those of you who've not experienced cloud yet, you've got this crazy. I'm guessing you did not name your application 9A04, right? That's simply the GUID of the application ID.
yeah,
So for the cloud, you simply use that application GUID, and that GUID will show as above in the URL. So you can just copy that app GUID right out
like
and
this.
place it right in and do a binary load from any of your cloud apps.
Exactly,
So you
exactly.
do the binary load. At that point, you've got, woohoo, I got my whole data model that ClickDork guy built and did all the transformations for me.
Yeah, exactly. So here what we're looking to do is the second part is the report name. And actually this is being used to do the translation because
Okay.
in every application, we have the dates, it never changed. We have the sheet names, etc., that never changed.
Right.
And we have the object name that never changed since the Qlik dynamic report, and we always have the same object, but you could rename
Okay.
it and rename them and reuse what you want to reuse.
Okay.
But as for the
Wow.
dimensions and the measures, they will change
Okay.
according to which report you want to build. So
Right.
now I'm doing a test. I'm running a test. I say hey, the report name, it's sub data. So please, when you store the QVDs, store the dimensions and measure translation under the sub data. But in a real life project,
Yep.
What we do is you don't even do this. I will do it for you. And you use the document title.
Yep.
And I'll be using the report name that uses the document title to store the QBDs in the right placement based on the report name. So you will know for each report, this is the translation for it. You don't have to do anything.
Love it.
This is the second thing, because all of my expressions are used sum of something, and I switch between variables, and I will show you this later.
Okay.
So if you have a count, for example, you want to count your order ID, or you want to count your customers,
Right.
you should transform your count into a sum. And how to do this? It's simple, and I explain it here. Instead of having load order ID, you have another table to calculate
Yep.
the sum, and to have load order ID and one as number of orders. It will count each and every order. And based on your model, if you have many data, the use of sum, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, is better than the count or the count distance for the Qlik engine. So
Yep.
it's a good thing to have. And you could only see this when working with a huge set of data. But you should not forget that this works with sum because it's a sum of something that will alter and change
Yep.
depend on your selection. So this is
Nice.
the first thing. You don't have to alter anything. Just call your data model.
Yep.
I've thought so much, but as a user, and I showed you how I switch between model, the only thing I call my model. That's it.
Yep.
Second is here you call your calendar because I need to create a calendar. So in your data model, don't bother with this. Don't create a calendar for me. I will create my own calendar
You
that
got
will
your
be full,
calendar.
yeah,
Okay.
full of variables that are being used in all the expressions.
Yep.
So here you just need to precise, hey, how I create my calendar. This is my date and this is my fact tape. Great. Do I need to do anything else? No, nothing. You don't need to do anything else. I will create this for you, and you have everything and all the variables that are being used, whether in the expressions or whether in the variables to for example, here the how many months, here the rolling months. It starts with 11, but yeah, we could do everything
Go
and
go
any.
back down to that temporal analysis. That variable set v temporal analysis values. Two down. That
Yeah,
one.
here.
There's some people are like, oh man, that looks so hard. Yes, it was hard for you to create that the
But
first time,
very easy for you to use.
but very easy to use. Secondly, there's other people like, yeah, that's why I love Qlik, because I can do this type of set analysis stuff and I can do this type of a formula on the fly.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
And I will show you how this is being used after in the expression and how easy it is to reuse them.
Yep.
Do I need to do anything else? No. But if you have more than a date, you don't have only one date, you have maybe 3 dates: a
Yep.
delivery, a shipment, anything, expedition,
Of
and you want
course.
to be
Yep.
able to use these three. So the first approach is to create 3 calendars, which is great because the calendar is not that resource heavy. But you won't, even if you create 3 calendars, you won't be able to use all 3 dates in one axis. And here, when the canonical dates come to existence, and here that we have the great Henrik with a great article on how to create and use the canonical date. If you wanted to dig in this and understand what do you mean by the canonical dates and how we can afford to use more than a date, you could see this article. But for you as a developer, you don't need to do this. You just need to, hey, let's uncomment this, not you, and we're good to go.
Okay.
So if you want to use canonical dates, you just uncomment this. And that's all. You don't change anything else.
Okay.
But here I don't have many dates. I have only one. So yeah, let's stay
Nice.
connected.
Nice.
So for the pick colors, what I'm trying to do is having the possibility to to align very easily with the client's color
Right.
palette.
Okay.
So here I have the green, this is the Qlik color, and the white. But if I want to not have it like this, but maybe like this, the default is black and light gray when I select the button. I load the data, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else to align with the color palette of your
But I
frequency, right?
like going all over my screen
And you
and
have this.
changing thousands of objects and change the color code. I love doing
And you could do this.
that. Yeah.
So uh, it it's really straightforward. But let's go
Yeah.
back with the Qlik colors. I think they'd be better for
Oh, yeah. Oh,
our
yeah.
demo. So this is the part where we choose the color palette.
Yep.
And when it comes to the key indicators, this is where you do the main changes as a
Okay.
Qlik developer. This is the so I will
Nice.
show you how difficult it is.
Okay.
So in my model, I have 3 KPIs. I could have 4, maybe
Yep.
5, depends. But I don't like reports that have that many KPIs. It's better to have 3, 4 max. But hey, with the report I give, you could go with 6 already created for you.
Okay.
But if you want to have 10 KPIs, it's so easy to recreate them. You just have to copy, paste,
Yep.
and change 3 by 6. That's it.
Nice.
I will show you
Nice.
this.
Yep.
So in my model, I have 3 KPIs, which are 3 fields, existing fields: the net sales, the
Okay.
profit, and the unit sold.
Right.
So I specify, I say, hey, these are the 3 fields I'll be using in my sum. So I'll have some net sales, some profit, some unit sold. In the other, I had some number of orders. So you could imagine that I've transformed the order ID to the number of orders to have the sum of number of orders. How many KPIs have I selected? 3. So
Yep.
please specify. It's 3.
Okay.
If you want to specify this, I can do a loop and do it for you. If you're that lazy, I can change this to do it for you. But yeah, please do something. It's so easy. I want them to do something as developers. The second part is which dimensions I want to include in my report.
Yep.
So for this report, I have 3 main dimensions I want to work with. But if I want to work with more than 3 dimensions, I can. So I worked with 5 for the other report, and I just have to say, hey, I'm working with 5, not
5.
with 3.
Okay.
But now I'm working with 3. And why am I focusing on this? Because this is mandatory for the ad-hoc creation report, and I will show you this later.
Yep.
Shall them change anything else? Absolutely not. Everything is
Everything else good to
dynamic,
go. Yep.
and it will create every variables you are using
So that's
without you.
amazing. So let's look at one of those sections.
Yeah,
Because you're actually using a loop
yeah,
and then creating the variables on the fly.
yeah. So what I'm doing here is, for example, is I have the this is the one to have the by default selected measure.
Yep.
So do you remember that I have the buttons? So I wanna have a selected one. So I will
Yep.
select the first one.
Okay.
And then what we do is here I do a loop from the
Yep.
first to the last, and every time I create my variable, this one, and you're here, and this is what I'm using it to be able to create these
Yep.
values. So if we edit this object, you'd see This is a variable I'm using, which is defined in the calendar,
Yep.
and this is the values I'm using
Yep.
that I've just created based on the KPIs you've entered. So net sales, profit, and units sold.
Wow.
And how we created this, it's here.
Yep.
And how we create the dimensions, same approach. And
Love it.
everything else.
Love it.
So the alternate states, etc. So the Qlik developer, it's good to understand this, but he does not need to change.
Yep.
The only thing he should change is this.
Are those? Yep.
And even this I could make dynamic for him. So now we will see how the ad-hoc report is created. And as a developer, for now, I won't do anything else.
Okay.
My job is finished.
Yep.
I could reuse this on the fly.
That was
But
a
let
lot
me
of
show-
work. It took us like 5,
Yeah.
6 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
don't
So
let my
Adam-
boss Hugo know. But Hugo, for as far as Hugo knows, this took us weeks. I just
Yeah.
spent weeks building this new app.
I like them to stay there for weeks. I like them. But doing the data model,
But doing
creating
nice.
a good data model, because they don't have any excuse to have a bad data
No.
model.
Nope. Nope.
So I insist, nothing to do. This will automatically grab your previously defined dimension measures and add them
Okay.
to your temporal.
Yep.
To
Okay.
your temporal dimension present in your color calendars.
Okay.
So what we do is simple stuff, is to loop your dimensions you just specified and create them here as
Yep.
as a dimension. And I've already prepared in the ad-hoc that I will
Okay.
be using this dimension, dim1, dim2, dim3, dim4 with its label.
Yep.
And it will just grab these inline tables, these island tables, but
Okay.
has not been created through inline tables as we usually do. But
Right.
the island tables here of dimensions, measures, and even the where I specify this for the here for the dates. And the dates, which has been specified in the calendars to always have the dates in your report.
Right.
We create them dynamically by catching the values you've specified. And if you are using here 5 dimensions, but you only specify 3,
right,
it will only loop 3 times. So this is why it's mandatory. If you're using 9 dimensions, please put 9. So I can do the loop 9 times for you and create the island table you could be using in your ad-hoc. And the ad-hoc will catch this, the dim1, dim2, dim3, dim4, dim5, and will create everything for you, and you have nothing else to do.
But if I wanted to allow filter choices on the other stuff for 9 dimensions, but only allow the ad hoc to show 8 of them, I just set that variable to 8.
Yeah, 8.
So I still get to pick from 9, but in my ad hoc, I just get 8.
I'll have the first 8, yeah.
Super flexible.
Exactly. So now we can come to the final part, the translation.
Okay.
Which is using the OpenAI Connect to the interactive chat completion GPT 3.5.
Okay.
And what we simply do is here. So we specify the language. So I have 4 languages: English, French, German, Spanish.
Okay.
You could add other languages. The dimension measure I will show you. The dates, you don't have to do them anymore. The page, you don't have to do them anymore, and everything else, the object, because you do it only once.
Okay.
Only once, because this is a dynamic report. You'll always have these pages. If you're using only 5 sheets, not 9, okay, you have the translation of them all, and just use your 5.
Yep.
And we go with that. So
Wow.
this is only one time. The only
Okay.
thing that you have to do is your dimensions and your measure. So what does this do is, as always, it loops through all of your dimensions. So if you're working with 10 dimension,
Yep.
it will
Okay.
pick the 10 and say to the OpenAI, can you please translate this 10?
Okay.
And how you call it is you call it by the dim. So you don't have to statically in your label say, hey, this is only the title for the translation equal country. No, it will always equal dim1, equal dim2, equal dim3, equal dim4. And it's dynamically created for you. And you don't have to change anything, even though you change your predefined
So
values.
you're
So
dynamically building the prompts that you're going to
yeah,
pass to OpenAI.
yeah. So you translate this,
So
and
each of my fields, whatever I have as my dimensions, and then each of the languages that I've got in the list of languages.
yeah, I will show you this. And here you store it no matter where you choose to, and
Okay.
using the report name that has been defined dynamically, not like
Yep.
this, but dynamic using the document title. So you don't have to pick to do anything else.
Yep.
Just do it. And whether you transfer to the concerned team to modify or just reuse them directly as I did
Yeah.
here. So here I could
Yep.
reuse them since I
And
am
that's the
able
beautiful
to.
thing. So the first time I would come in, one of my applications, I might need I don't need a translation. One application, I might do this. I need 3. One application might be global and I need 10 or 20.
Yeah,
Um, and I saw
exactly.
you're storing it to QVDs.
Yeah,
There's no reason in that store command you can't store them to CSV or store them to Parquet
yeah,
and then edit those.
yeah,
So I could get my default translation and then sit down with someone who's the more, who's good in that language and say, well, we
yeah,
really need to change this default translation to this. And then you've got that in those CSVs or Parquet
exactly.
files, and you're good to go. And I like that you've done this with OpenAI, with Bedrock, with Azure OpenAI, because then the customer brings their LLM,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
If the customer is a Microsoft Azure customer, they can bring their OpenAI keys. If they're an Amazon customer, they bring their secret keys from Bedrock. If they're OpenAI, they simply go out and get an account on OpenAI and they're good to go. And
Yeah,
as we saw, you're doing conversion basically for very few things up front, the dimension names. So that's why you've hardly used any of your token credits at all. So beautiful, man. That is super dynamic.
exactly. And I will show you how to use them. For example, in the this object. You see, it's KPI one. So you don't need to say, I'm talking about the net sales. And if
Yep.
I alter, it's not net sales profit. No, it's always be catching the VKPI one. You don't have to do
Or the
anything else.
translation that I've filtered on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. So as I told you, I have
Yep.
everything is on master items. So I have till 6, no, 5, 5, yeah. But if I want to create a 6 measure, uh, if you click on 5 here, see
Yeah.
that we have everything that is predefined.
Yep.
all the visualization. And we have with the automation the possibility to grab the master measures you have,
Yep.
store them, and you just grab one, you store them, and you create, we have this, and I need 10 KPIs.
Yep.
Okay, let's copy the same thing and do the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and call them back. And there you
Nice.
have it, because everything is
Yep.
dynamic. And if you catch, for example, this one, or let's do the two, which exists, the 2%, or this one, current, you'd see that it is dynamic, since here we're calling for the date fields
Yep.
to not have the point when we select a month. We don't need that month. We only need for the max. And this is created in the calendar, so you don't need to worry about it.
Right.
And this is in the calendar, this is in the calendar, this is in the calendar, and this is your KPI.
Yeah. Fun.
And you don't need to do anything else, and just take this and go play with it. That's all.
So this is great, and for those of you who may be even new to Sense and are getting started, I really want to applaud you, Omar, for your use of master items to begin with. But from a best practices standpoint, even more so. That ability, a lot of times we get started and we're just slapping names down, right? I'm going to create 3 master items. I just need to add a 4th, right? And we don't think about, hey, what's going to happen a year from now when I can't scroll through them all and I do need to use that search bar? Having used a best practice to make these things searchable, even more hats off to you, man. That
Thank you.
incredible. Not only is this dynamic and beautiful, it is a best practice example from the get-go. Like
Thank you.
this is everything that I've loved about working with Qlik from the Qlik View days, when I was a customer using it. Just incredible flexibility.
Thank you. So that's it.
All right.
Um,
Well, why don't you stop
if you
sharing
like
your
it.
screen and we can just kind of end with a little bit of conversation. Um, that's for those of you that at the get-go are like, I'm not sure where we're going with dynamic and beautiful. That now you know. Tremendous. Like that's a million bonus points over what I did as an alternative to alternatives. You really ran wild, not only with the code, but visually as well. It's not just that you slapped something on the screen and made it dynamic. It is a beautiful application.
Thank you.
That is, to me, I think this solves a couple of problems. One is this is a rapid BI prototype, right? And that's what Qlik Sense is great for. Let me go get your data. Let's focus on just the data. I don't need to know where that data came from then. I can look at it visually, and the visuals are already running. I already kind of alluded to data literacy for users. Super nice way to improve their curiosity. I can absolutely see, hey, this is great if this solves all your problems. But what we want it to do is you've given them so many options. They say, but I want another one. I need another option. Can I see this and this? Oh, you don't want to just see it in a straight table? You actually want to see it visually? Why, sure we can. And then you just create some one-off charts, right? All your charts were master visuals. I
Yeah.
could copy those and change them at will because I've got all the data already loaded, right? So you could customize, but more importantly, you're starting the user with where they are. Let's just look at let's just look at a dashboard. Oh, look, there's a pretty KPI. Ooh, let me see that KPI over time. Let me see that KPI comparing it over time. Let me see. Ooh, I didn't think I would want to see net sales and profit. But wow, that was an interesting insight that I quickly got. Let me see this and this and this. So fantastic there. Beautiful use of the layout container. That that
Thank you.
application looks every bit like a ClickView application. Which I know there's an awful lot of ClickView developers out there, but I really need to fit this and this and this and this in there. And I only wanted to take 10 pixels. And I noticed you use that. You had an input box with a number. You didn't put a label. You just, here's the number.
Yeah,
Change the number. I only need a few pixels for that. And it can be part of the background of the chart. Um,
exactly.
just fantastic. So, Omar, I think it's great. It was great that you showed it, but here's what's going to happen, man. I can see people watching this and say, but I want to get that, right? I'm a consultant or I'm a BI director at a company, and man, I really want this rapid BI prototyping, this quick visualization to help my users transfer from, I just want to see data in a flat table to I want to start looking at insights visually to improve their literacy and help them get more curious about data. And they're going to want that. Would they need to contract you to build all this for them? Or is there a way that if they reached out to you, they could just buy what you've got and then run with it from there?
Yeah, they can really buy it and run. This is the point. I made this so easily reusable. Is the point if to be able to take it and play with it. And if they be willing to have some more insights from me, hi, they know my number, I'm reachable, and they can contact at any time.
Nice. Very nice. So if you did it at the beginning, already connect with them like I told you to do, or you didn't take the screenshot, just rewind the video back to the beginning, and then you've got the screenshot of his contact information. So that's great. So somebody who is pretty good could just buy this from you to get started, add whatever it is that they want to go down another path. If it's a company, they could buy it from you and just run with it. Or somebody could buy it and then hire you to make additional things or do other things. So fantastic stuff. What other big plans do you got? What's coming in the future? Have you started dreaming of future yet? What else do you got planned?
What the future? I'm having two babies, so the future is fully concentrated.
You're focused on your babies.
I don't have a future.
And so when you said you're having two babies, your wife is expecting twins?
No. I already have a
Okay.
three-year-old and just have a 1 month baby girl. So it's not
Oh
that
my
easy to
gosh.
handle. But yeah, I'm
Nice.
appreciating this. But when it comes to the dynamic reports, I don't plan to stop here
Okay.
because I want to better integrate other AI tools with other ideas. So, for example, I've seen your video on the glossary and how to implement it, and I really like to uh, find a dynamic way to do this
Okay.
and to
And so
maybe
by
ask.
that, for others, what you mean is the ability to be able to call OpenAI or Bedrock or Azure OpenAI or Databricks, get others suggest, take the dimensions that you have and say, how else would you refer to product or
Yeah,
to net
exactly.
sales? Get other names, put those back in the vocabulary and the glossary within the app so that you can use Insight Advisor chat, right?
Exactly.
That would
Exactly.
be that would be crazy
Because
cool.
Qlik has already the insight advisor
Yep,
that is great since it's already connected
yep.
to your data, so it knows how to do things. And we want to use the OpenAI or any other AI to uh, build upon it and to help it with other terminologies that users can use to ask their questions. Maybe find the dynamic way to have more insights with AI to, hey, how can you describe this? How I've been doing, etc. It's just to help in some narratives way, but it's not the focal point because you don't
Yep.
need to repeat this. Uh, AI is not here to replace what we're being doing, but it's rather here to help. And don't just rely on it. Know how to use it to
Right.
help you
Yep.
achieve your goal.
Exactly. That I couldn't say that any better. That's and my philosophy is that what can get generated, um, working with what can get generated as text as a story and using the visual at the same time and seeing those things together can really
Yeah,
augment each other.
yeah,
Because there's times we've all seen those, optical illusion images where there's a candlestick, but there's really two faces, but there's really a candlestick, but there's really two faces. Those things, sometimes our brain can see one or the other and get focused on that and seeing
yeah,
text that says, wait, there's really two faces too.
yeah,
Seeing the text
exactly.
can balance what our brain sees visually, but there are times where statistically things don't make sense to call out with generation from an LLM, but our eyes could see it visually much faster
Yeah,
and could catch
exactly.
things. And then if I see something, I could ask questions about what I think I see.
Yeah,
And so again, as a data literacy helper tool, right, it's almost like a tutorial. You're
yeah,
seeing it. Now ask Azure OpenAI or Bedrock or Databricks or AI or OpenAI about your assumption.
yeah,
Ask it to
exactly.
give you details about what you think you see and have it as a learning point. So yeah, I
Exactly.
think they fit really, really, really well together. Um, so that would be fantastic. Omar, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you
That's
for having me.
I am really impressed with what you're doing.
Thank you.
First of all, you didn't get to be a Qlik MVP by only building this app. You obviously do a lot for the Qlik community in helping others and magnifying what they do. So it only makes sense that I'm more than happy to help you because I
Thank you.
know it's one to many to many. So that's fantastic. So on behalf of the Qlik community, and all that leadership. Thank you so much for what you do for the community. Thank you for what you've done, not only for the community with this app and helping people begin seeing really the value of what Qlik offers that's different than just the data.
Yeah,
Um, and thank you for taking time to come on and show this thing off and be willing to show it off technically. Because there's somebody that's out there that's like, oh man, I can go run with this. Which I know is great. And if it sparks their interest, they're just going to get more into making things dynamic.
exactly.
And that's what we want. So thank you, my friend. For
Thank
everybody
you.
else who's out there, I sure hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right.